Okay, so we are working on control statements in Excel. And one of those control statements is the if statement or the if function. Let me explain a little bit how if works. If is a condition, right? Now if only has two possibilities, either true or false. Okay? If the condition is true, then he can develop a process, and if the condition is false, you can develop another process. Now those two processes can be either functions or can be just a simple data, like the output will be okay. Now, if the condition is true, then you want to develop another function. So if the condition is true, and if the condition has another statement, then you can put an if inside the true. And here you will have two probabilities, either true or false. Okay? And you can go on just creating conditions and processes to make your statements more complex. Now, in the Excel syntax, what you have is the if statement, right? And when you open the parentheses, you have the true statement over here. You have the criteria, okay? So let's say, and the condition is, let's say A1 is bigger than 0 or is greater than 0, semicolon, and here in this part you will have the true condition. Okay? What is going to happen if this is greater than 0, if A1 is greater than 0? Okay? After the semicolon, you will have the false condition. What happens if the condition is not applied? Okay? But what happens if the true condition, it's another condition? Okay? In our case, the condition true, it's another if. Okay? So if this condition occurs, what if another condition occurs? And here I will have if B1 is also greater than 0, then, now here is the true condition for this one, for this if, okay? Now the true condition, if this occurs, I will say that B1 and A1 are greater than 0. Okay? So in this case, if A1 and B1 are greater than 0, then this condition applies. What if the condition of the red if is not applied? And here comes my false condition. Okay? If this is not applied, if B1 is not applied, then I would say B1 is not greater than 0. Okay? So I finished. I close my if statement. This would be this one over here. I close the if statement. And then I will see the false statement, semicolon, and this would be the false statement of the last if. Okay? So what if A1 is not greater than 0? If this occurs, it's because A1 and B1 are not greater than 0. Okay? Then I close this one over here, and now I have 3 conditions. Okay? And the possibilities are that A1 is greater than 0 and B1 greater than 0, A1 not greater than 0 and B1 greater, and vice versa. Okay? So I created 3 conditions. So remember that you can create a function inside another function to establish more conditions. Okay? Now this tutorial is going to allow you to develop the exercise for the class on week 8. And we're going to see that you're going to need a couple of simple ifs, and some other functions like count if, okay, count A, and count blank. Okay? So let's see how it works. First of all, you're going to go to your course guide. You're going to go to week 8. And during that week, we're going to see the assignment that we have to do. Okay? So, class 2. Now we're going to use the count if, and the count A to analyze the file that we use. We're going to open the W, develop an indicator. Okay, now we're going to read the instructions. First of all, how many indicators does Colombia have in the World Development Indicators? Now we have a bunch of countries. The first thing I'm going to do is to filter Colombia. After I filter Colombia, I need to count how many indicators are on this column. That is very simple with the function count. Okay, let me zoom in a little. Now underneath, I'm going to type count. Now here, if I use count only, I will have the cells that contain numbers. So I will get a 0. If I use count A, I will count the numbers that are not empty. That means that if there's a 0 or there are letters, they will count them. Okay? So I'm going to count A, and I'm going to count all these cells, okay, and see how many indicators they have. Okay? So there are a bunch of indicators, right? I close the parentheses, and I get 1,300 indicators. Now we're going to go to our second assignment. I want to highlight this so it looks better, so I know what I'm grading. So I have 1,300. Now the second part says how many years of information are missing of each indicator in Colombia. Okay? In this case, I want to go all the way up. And as you can see, like every indicator has some years missing, right? In this case, I want to count blank. So I'm going to count the blank cells of all these over here. It goes back to 1960. Okay. Close the parentheses. And I have 51 years that there's no information on this indicator. Okay? What I need to do for all the other indicators is just drag down and fill in all the other indicators. Okay? So here we have all the numbers, and this will be, the title will be Years Without Information. Right? I format the column a little bit so I know that in this indicator, the first indicator, there are 51 years without information. Okay? You can see that all the indicators have a number. Very good. That would be the second part. Now the third question says, go to the tab Country and develop a formula that counts how many countries belong to each of the income groups of the world. So let's go to the tab. Let's go to the tab Country, okay, on the bottom, and we need to count how many countries belong to each of the income groups of the world. Okay, so first of all, let's filter. Let's create a filter for the top row. We're going to go up here, create a filter, and we're going to see how many types of income groups are there. There's high income, OECD, low income, lower middle income, upper middle income, and of course, there's no information. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 types of income. Okay? Okay. So in this case, we are going to right click on column D and we're going to press insert. Now we created a new column where we can count each of the group incomes or the income groups. Okay? So we have the first one, remember, high income, non-OECD. Okay? We have high income OECD. Okay? We have low income and lower middle income. We have low income, and we have we have lower middle income, we have upper middle income, okay? And that's it. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we have the blank or no info income, okay? Now for this, we're going to use the expression count if. Now count if, okay, we're going to count if and we're going to click this, the whole column. We can say that we're going to count the whole column. If and the criteria. What is the criteria? If whatever it's there says high income non-OECD, those quotation marks, and I have 44 countries with that criteria. Now I'll do exactly the same. Count if, but now if it's high income OECD. Now in this case I have 31. And so on until we finish that information. In this case, it's low income. Okay. Here we have lower middle income. Make sure that it's written exactly the same, otherwise the program will not recognize the characters. And I have upper middle income. And with no info, we're going to count blank. Okay, so we're going to count blank this range of cells. Okay, so we have 37. Very good. Now we have the third part. Now it says filter the indicator child employment in agriculture, female and male, and find out which country has more than 50% of their children working in agriculture, males and females. If this occurs, there should be a word that says alert after column of 2012. Okay, so let's go back to our data. Okay, and we're going to take away the filter, Colombia. Now our indicator is children working in agriculture. So what I'll do is that let's take all the indicators and go to children. Child employment in agriculture, female and male. Here we go. Now we have the same indicator. Obviously, there should be 2 for each country because we have female and male. Okay? So after 2008, we're going to create another column. Insert another column. Okay? And let's find out which country has more than 50% of their children working. Okay? Okay? Very good. So in this case, we need to find out who has more than 50%. Let's create an if condition. If the value here, look. Okay? Now there are some cases where you're going to see the alert. Some of these cases have the alert. Now if you want to see the countries, there's a really good way to to split the screens. You go to View, Split, click on Split. You're going to just leave the name. Okay? And we can go and look at our results. Okay? So all these countries are underneath 50%. If you want to see like this one, India has a problem. Indonesia has a problem during 2010. Liberia, both females and males. Now here you can enter and analyze the data. Okay? So this would be the second part, the fourth part of the assignment. Togo, and basically a couple of countries in the world. Okay, now the last thing you have to do is find out how many countries do not have at least 90% access to electricity. Very well. So first of all, now we need to take away the filter. Okay. Take away the split. Take away the filter. Child unemployment. And let's only click access to electricity. Very good. Now here, there should be some information on the year 2009 and 2010. Okay? So let's add. Let's add another column. Okay? And in this column, we are going to count if on the year 2010 they don't have at least 90%. You have to count. So it's not if. It's count if. Okay, so in this case, we're going to use the if statement. Okay, and then we're going to count the amount of correct. So if this value, it's less than 90, then put a 1. And if it's not, put a 0. That is another way that I'm going to find out how many countries. Okay, so in this case there's 1. And then I drag down all the way to the last indicator. Okay. Now if I want to add this, it would be very simple. It's just using the sum function and just adding the columns. So 208 countries do not have at least 90% access to electricity. That is a lot. Okay? In 2010. Okay, so this was your assignment. The idea is for you to practice different control statements because you're going to need them for every single Excel spreadsheet that you develop.